The end of slavery in those days was not born purely from a moral awakening or a sudden surge of compassion for humanity. No, it was tangled in the cold, hard calculations of profit and loss. Imagine a plantation owner, his brow furrowed, grappling with the dilemma. If I free my slaves, who will tend the fields? Who will harvest the crops that fill my coffers? Should I toil the soil myself? Or must I now pay these men and women wages, grant them rest, and bind myself to an 8-hour day? And what next? Will they demand more? Rights, freedoms, even a share of the wealth? No, such a world cannot be. And so, the lines were drawn, clear as the divide between night and day. The North and the South stood as two opposing forces, each clinging to its own vision of how the world should be. The North, with its growing conscience, could no longer stomach the idea of human beings traded like cattle. The South, however, saw slavery as the very foundation of its wealth and way of life. But how could one nation walk two paths? Such contradictions could not stand. Pressure mounted as each side sought to impose its will upon the other. In the North, a movement began to stir, fueled by guilt and a growing sense of justice. It was a fire that spread, fed by the voices of those who dared to speak out. Among them was Harriet Tubman, a woman of unyielding courage, who earned the name Moses of her people for leading countless enslaved souls to freedom through the treacherous paths of the Underground Railroad. Then there was Frederick Douglass, a man who had once been bound in chains, but broke free through the power of his mind. He taught himself to read and write. From those tools, he forged a new life as a writer and a fierce advocate for abolition. This movement grew, gathering strength from the pens of writers and the hearts of activists. Harriet Beecher Stowe emerged as one of its brightest stars, her novel Uncle Tom's Cabin laying bare the brutal realities of slavery. The story of Old Tom's suffering struck a chord so deep that over 1 million copies found their way into the hands of readers, stirring sympathy and outrage across the globe. In the North, her words were a rallying cry, a call to action. But in the South, they were a threat, so dangerous that the book was banned, and Stowe herself received a chilling warning. A package containing the severed ear of a black slave, a grim message meant to silence her. Hatred runs deep, my friend, one might say, shaking their head at the darkness of those times. Yet, this was only the beginning. What started as a war of words and symbols soon erupted into violence. In 1856, the battleground shifted to Kansas, where pro-slavery forces clashed with anti-slavery settlers and Republican representatives who sought to outlaw the practice. The violence ebbed and flowed, earning the conflict the name Bleeding Kansas. It was a preview of the chaos to come, as the nation teetered on the edge of a chasm, divided by its own contradictions. The pro-slavery and anti-slavery factions grew more entrenched, their actions more brutal with each passing year. The stage was set, the players in place, and the stakes higher than ever. The story of a nation at war with itself was just beginning to unfold.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and the bell notification icon.